Laid to rest, the world says goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II. The R News team is on the ground in London with reaction. Plus, bouncing back how one Abaco resort is doing better than ever. And Junkanoo groups are preparing to head back to Bay Street for two major parades. You're watching a scene from the committal service for Queen Elizabeth II at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. The Queen's coffin was lowered into a vault ahead of her private burial as the world said a final goodbye, marking the end of the second Elizabethan age. Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. The funeral procession attracting thousands of people from across the world. The procession beginning this morning with a state funeral at Westminster Abbey, where the royal family along with world leaders paid their final respects to Britain's longest-serving monarch. Following that state funeral, the coffin was transferred to Windsor Castle, where a committal service began at 4 p.m. at St. George's Chapel. An intimate ending to her 70-year reign was marked by a private burial at Windsor Castle. The Queen was laid to rest alongside her husband, Prince Philip. The Queen died at the age of 96 on September 8th. The streets of London overflowed with people today paying their respect to the late Queen. Our Jerome Sawyer was in London and gives us a spectator's experience.
From as early as 4 a.m., crowds assembled. Others camped out for days, while latecomers cramped into whatever space was available with only moments to spare, all coming to say farewell to their Queen on Monday. From the sidelines, cheers of admiration for the many, many law enforcement, UK Armed Forces and Royal Security Detail. It was a day to mourn and to say thank you to the late sovereign for 70 years of dedicated, selfless service. At 11 a.m. London time, 10 days of mourning crescendoed with the service at the Abbey. For the thousands outside, speakers lining the streets gave spectators a unique perspective.
We just wanted to be here. We wanted more than anything to be here and just spend time with our family, obviously respecting the Queen and seeing all the wonderful processions and just enjoying the whole atmosphere.
In some places the crowd was a dozen deep, yet they stood quietly and patiently in reverence.
The whole thing has been very emotional, the whole build-up, listening to the service on the tannoy. So yeah, it's but closure now for everyone, I think.
When we sang God Save the Queen at the end, that's the last time it's ever going to be sang, so that was just so emotional.
Because the Queen has been reigning for so long, and this is very much a moment in history, and I think it was important that I came here to not only pay my respects but to tell others that I was here.
This group of royal lifeguards who guard the official royal residences were given the day off from participating in the ceremony, yet they chose to come and pay their respects.
Today was also a case of showing that we have given service to you, but for a whole life she gave service to us and this country and a Commonwealth of Nations.
For the thousands and thousands and thousands who showed up today for this state funeral, it was an opportunity for them to say farewell and to say thank you to their Queen. But as one spectator put it, it was also an opportunity to bring closure. And as one chapter closes, another simultaneously begins. In London, reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Thanks for that report, Jerome. And while many people waited for hours as a glimpse of the Queen's final procession, others tuned in around the world to witness the funeral. Brits in Grand Bahama were among them. Jamila Mizik reports.
Royalist Sarah Kirkby and her guests were just a few among the millions of people tuned in early this morning to say final farewells to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. In true British fashion, the group filled their teacups as they watched the funeral procession.
Like someone said it in the crowd, you never expected her to go. You just always thought she was there. She was just always there. And she really has been that presence for us as a monarch in our lives.
Kirkby describing the 1-hour-long funeral service as absolutely beautiful.
The music and the pomp and circumstance, the choir, It was just done very well, and I thought the sermon was very brief. I expected it to be a little bit longer.
The Grand's Bahama residents say although they could not be present in England, they thought it important to still pay their respect.
It's a special day. It's like, we didn't get to stand in line. We haven't got to go by her coffin. So this is our chance as members of the Commonwealth to represent and be there.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Thanks, Jamila. And a young woman who had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet the Queen on her last visit to the Bahamas in 1994 says it's a moment that she will never forget. Our Christina Dragovich has the story.
I remember just thinking, wow, I'd be able to actually say that I've been in the presence of royalty and spoken to the Queen of England.
We sit down with Alexis McKinney to reflect on her once-in-a-lifetime moment, meeting Queen Elizabeth II.
I was given the opportunity to present the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, with a bouquet of flowers.
It was March 1994 when McKinney greeted the Queen at Prince George Wharf.
In that moment, I felt like a princess. Just being able to be in her presence, it gave me a feeling of confidence. She walked closer and closer to me, and I gently did a curtsy. She was quite pleased. And she definitely loved my outfit. She kept remarking about that.
As the years have passed and the world has changed, so has McKinney's view of Britain's longest-serving monarch.
To serve your country, to serve your people in such magnitude over the time frame and in the way that she did it, so humbly, so graceful. I'm very honored to have been able to meet her, and I think that she has made a mark on this world.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Great report, Christina. And Hurricane Fiona continues to track north. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center. Good evening, Greg.
Thanks, Natalia, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this nice and warm Monday evening. 86 degrees outside our studios under partly cloudy skies. Your winds out of the southeast at 9 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature is at 91 degrees. On our satellite around the islands, patchy showers and isolated thunderstorms across the northwest Bahamas, courtesy of a stalled out, basically a surface trough that's going to continue to hang out across that area. But we are watching down towards the southeast, Hispaniola, Dominican Republic. That is Fiona. Fiona is now a very powerful hurricane, 90-mile-per-hour winds continuing to move towards the north. Rain bands now affecting the Turks and Caicos Islands. We'll show you that later on in the extended forecast. But all in all, it should be a beautiful evening across the northwest and portions of the central Bahamas. But we will continue to monitor the progress of Fiona over the next couple of hours. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, visitor arrivals are up for Abaco. Find out why that island is becoming a top destination. And the World Health Organization says the end of the pandemic is in sight. The details when Our News returns.
Got wireless dead zones at your house? How about endless buffering? Where you put the Wi-Fi password again? This is Aero. Aero is not just any Wi-Fi router. Rev customers get the first Wi-Fi system that covers every inch of your beautiful home, improving home coverage, higher speeds, high performance, and connectivity for up to 75 simultaneous devices. Aero. So while you're streaming your favorite show on HBO Max, Aero with Rev gives you the freedom to stay connected while you work, learn, and play at home.
Never think about Wi-Fi again with Aero from Rev. Visit rev.bs/Aero or call 601-8992 to make your Wi-Fi wishes come true.
Visitor arrivals are up on Abaco. So says Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism in Abaco, MP John Pinder, who revealed the statistics during the Abaco Business Outlook.
We even have a private aviation fly-in coming in December with nearly 50 private planes in 1 week. Stay tuned for more flight service to come. You see, flight service is important for us. Being an archipelago, we make sure that our friends and our new visitors are able to get here quickly, seamlessly, and affordably to come and spend time in the Abacos.
He says Abaco's future is bright and adds that there are several investment opportunities.
If you want to grow your wealth, if you want to maybe start that dream business or idea, come to Abaco. We have a diverse selection of places to go, diverse areas to start your businesses, and the backing to make it happen.
Now, one resort is boasting a quick comeback after Dorian devastated its property. Berthany McDermott reports the Abaco Beach Resort was seeing high occupancy rates.
The Abaco Beach Resort is bouncing back with occupancy percentages in the 90s. In fact, Sales and Marketing Director Brent Ingram says the resort is almost back to pre-pandemic levels.
We've just come out of our season, and we've had a good season where we've actually achieved numbers in the 85 to 90% range for the season.
And as the resort heads into a slow season, Ingram says forward bookings are looking better than expected. The resort offers 98 rooms and suites as well as condos and suites. As for staffing,
we have retained, I would say, almost 70% of our staff. Even during the hurricane, when most of them didn't have a place to stay, we've actually provided accommodations for those individuals. And we're still looking for new persons. We're still looking for persons that are skilled. The challenge that we have been having is that, of course, housing is a major concern here in the island. And so if persons have no place to stay, it's very difficult for them to relocate and to basically come and work.
Ingram saying even while the resort sought to rebuild, operations continued.
Where were persons going to stay that came to the island? The NGOs, the power company, utility companies, they needed a place to stay. Even though we were heavily damaged, we never ceased operation, and so we were still able to provide some level of accommodations as well as security for those persons coming to the island to help in the rebuilding process.
He also stressed the benefit of having a 200-slip marina, which he says adds to the resort's value.
We are close to, on the Sea of Abaco, so we're close to everything that exists within the Abacos. So the marina serves a really good purpose. And then we have our fishing tournaments. Persons who are into fishing love to know that they can come to a comfortable, safe environment that has all the amenities that they look forward to. The fishing tournaments that we have are some of the largest in the world. We host almost 600 persons in one of our fishing tournaments here.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. Now, the end to the COVID-19 pandemic is in sight. That's according to the World Health Organization, but there's still a push to get to the finish line. Christina Dragovich tells us more.
We have never been in a better position to end the pandemic. We're not there yet, but the end is in sight.
The statement coming from World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, 32 months into the COVID-19 pandemic. Last week, the number of weekly reported deaths in the world were the lowest since March 2020, a light at the end of a very long and dark tunnel. Since then, the Bahamas has seen 833 COVID-19 deaths and just over 37,000 confirmed cases of the virus. Now, Dr. Tedros says we are at a turning point.
If we don't take this opportunity now, we run the risk of more variants, more deaths, more disruption, and more uncertainty.
The World Health Organization has released policy briefs outlining key actions governments can take to help end the pandemic. Those measures include investing in vaccinating at-risk groups, including health workers and older people, continued testing and surveillance, as well as attaining 70% vaccination coverage.
We can end this pandemic together, but only if all countries, manufacturers, communities and individuals step up and seize this opportunity.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
When Our News comes back from the break, Junkanoo groups get much-needed funding ahead of two major parades. Plus, the UB Mingos are headed to Orlando. Marcellus Hall has the details.
Got wireless dead zones at your house? How about endless buffering? Will you put the Wi-Fi password again?
This is Aero.
Aero is not just a new Wi-Fi router. Rev customers get the first Wi-Fi system that covers every inch of your beautiful home, improving home coverage, higher speeds, high performance, and connectivity for up to 75 simultaneous devices. Aero. So while you're streaming your favorite show on HBO Max, Aero with Rev gives you the freedom to stay connected while you work, learn, and play at home.
Never think about Wi-Fi again with Aero from Rev. Visit rev.bs/Aero or call 601-8992 to make your Wi-Fi wishes come true.
This is our news. Welcome back. Junkanoo groups were more than happy to receive much-needed funding ahead of the upcoming Junkanoo parades. Jamila Mizik reports.
The countdown is on for the return of the greatest show on earth, and with just a few months before the 2022 Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade, groups throughout New Providence can now breathe a sigh of relief after receiving funding from the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. Minister Mario Bulag making the official presentation today, a total of some $928,500. That's $30,000 each for 7 A groups, $15,000 for 17 B groups, $1,500 for 21 D groups, and $2,000 for 19 fun groups. 35 Family Island groups from Grants Bahama to Inagua also receiving their share.
The ministry remains committed to the growth and development of Junkanoo.
JCMP Chair Dion Miller says the 2-year period has been a difficult time for the Junkanoo community as they've lost many legends in the various groups, which is why this year will be a memorial for those lost.
The JCMP is excited to get back to the road. We're excited about the future and our prospects with our partnership with the government. We're excited to work with the minister, the NJC, and all persons who want to do good and right by us as Junkanooers.
Now, the Family Island Junkanoo season is from December 2022 through June 2023, and National Junkanoo Committee Deputy Co-Chair Kishleen Smith says this year will be the first time they've created a calendar of events to highlight Junkanoo across the islands,
where we will encourage all Bahamians to travel to those islands and to interact in these islands. Domestic tourism is there, and you'll be able to see the true form of Junkanoo.
The minister says there may be some adjustments due to the pandemic. However, stakeholders will meet to ensure that protocols are in place for the upcoming parades. Reporting for our news, I'm Jamila Mizik.
The UB cross-country team heads to Orlando for a meet, and John Carl Jones and the Connecticut Sun lose the WNBA title. Marcellus Hall has the rundown.
Welcome to your Sports Monday, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Hope you guys enjoying your holiday. Meanwhile, though, there is some sporting activity going on. How about the University of the Bahamas? They have a team going across the top waters now. In fact, they're in Florida right now for the men's cross-country championships in Orlando area. They run in the Embry-Riddle Cross Country Classic. Head coach Edna Roll, as they headed into competition, looking for a high top 10 finish this weekend. We'll give you details as the results come in.
I'm looking for us to get an overall team performance in the top 10. You know, cross country is one of those ones where the long running we're kind of not strong in. So we've been working from the beginning of the summer. My guys are stronger than we were before the pandemic, so I'm looking for us to be, last time we got top 10, so I'm looking top 5 to be optimistic.
Meanwhile, Las Vegas claiming their first franchise championship. They hold on 78-71. Sadly for John Quell and the Sun, they'll have to try again next.
Thanks, Marcellus. And still ahead on our news, Sandals is set to launch an initiative that allows guests to experience island life. Plus, where is Tropical Storm Fiona headed? Well, our Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center with the latest. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got wireless dead zones at your house? How about endless buffering? Will you put the Wi-Fi password again? This is Aero. Aero is not just a new Wi-Fi router. Rev customers get the first Wi-Fi system that covers every inch of your beautiful home, improving home coverage, higher speeds, high performance, and connectivity for up to 75 simultaneous devices. Aero. So while you're streaming your favorite show on HBO Max, Aero with Rev gives you the freedom to stay connected while you work, learn, and play at home.
Never think about Wi-Fi again with Aero from Rev. Visit rev.bs/Aero or call 601-8992 to make your Wi-Fi wishes come true.
Welcome back to our news. A hot week ahead as Tropical Storm Fiona continues to strengthen. Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center with the latest updates. Greg?
Thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. Of course, we are watching Fiona, which is now a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane. Is continuing to move towards the northwest at around 8 to 9 miles per hour. Rain bands now affecting the Turks and Caicos Islands, so their weather is going to be going downhill. We have some webcam images out of the Turks and Caicos Islands showing you how conditions look down there. Rough seas, gusty winds, and those rain bands starting to spread across that area. We will continue to see those conditions deteriorate throughout the night and into tomorrow. So we're asking you guys down there, if you haven't already prepared for that, make sure you stay safe, as the system is expected to pass very close to the Turks and Caicos Islands as a category, possibly a category 2 hurricane by tomorrow, and then continue to move towards the north over the next couple of days. Should stay east of the Bahama chain, and of course, rain bands will be spreading across portions of the southeast and central Bahamas overnight through tonight and into tomorrow. So conditions, as I mentioned, will be deteriorating over the next several hours. Rainfall expected with this system, very significant. So the Turks and Caicos Islands most likely will be receiving the brunt of this, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches and isolated amounts up to 8 inches. So flooding is a real concern. Boaters, we are asking you to remain in port. Very large swells expected with this system as well. And we are urging beachgoers not to get into the water over the next couple of days. Boating conditions for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Small craft caution in effect. Northeast to east winds 15 to 20 knots. Seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Your low tide would be at 10:34 tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, tropical storm to hurricane conditions expected. Small craft urged to remain in port. 6 to 9 foot seas, but those swells will be up to 12 feet, mainly along the eastern shoreline. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast over the next couple of days. Isolated showers across the northwest and portions of the central Bahamas as Fiona moves away from us. But we expect some beach erosion as well as I mentioned, very large swells. So make sure you stay safe. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Now, Sandals Resort announcing a new initiative to get all-inclusive guests off their resort property and into the local community. Marlena Leonard explains how in this report.
Sandals Executive Chairman Adam Stewart says he hopes to get guests of all ages more involved in the local economy by partnering with local restaurants through a new package called Island Inclusive. And here's how it'll work. Participating guests can take a Mini Cooper provided by Sandals to experience off-site restaurants and excursions using a Sandals voucher to pay for the experiences.
It was just approved here with the government, so started in Curacao. We call it Island Inclusive. You get a credit, so traditionally you get a spa credit or a tour credit, some kind of added value.
Stewart says the initiative is part of Sandals' efforts to keep up with the trends of younger travelers who are willing to spend more to experience a more authentic cultural immersion.
That next generation is spending more money on travel and experiences than we've ever seen. And prior to them, it was the boomer generation that had the money. So this new generation, they're spending less on their homes, on their cars, and more on experiences.
Stewart says his own love for Bahamian culture and people partially inspired the move, and he's hoping visitors will be able to fall in love with the culture as much as he has.
I spent a lot of time here in the Bahamas. My wife is from the Bahamas, and the things that I love to do, we try and package those up and share that with the world in a different way. So I think it's going to be very complimentary for linkages and inclusion in a way that I haven't seen another hotel company do yet.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks, Marlena, and thank you for joining us tonight for our news. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.